I framed the hotel receipt from the night my mom and her husband first started their affair and wrapped it as their Christmas gift at the family dinner, leading to nuclear fallout that exposed lies, ex-spouses, and a hidden secret none of us expected. I already know I'm an asshole. Some background so this doesn't sound completely unhinged. My mom left my dad when I was 14. She always framed it like they fell out of love and were better as friends. Except they weren't friends. They barely spoke. She trashed him constantly, and she acted like the divorce was some noble thing she did for our sake. I never bought it, mostly because I wasn't stupid, and also because mom has this habit of rewriting history depending on who's listening. Fast forward a few years, and suddenly she's with Ron. He's one of those men who acts like he's the main character in every room. He loves phrases like, real man, providing, and your mother went through hell with your father. He treats me like I'm this disrespectful stray cat mom picked up, even though I've never asked either of them for anything. They've been married now for almost 9 years. I've tolerated them, mostly because I don't like dealing with the guilt trips and crying fits mom does whenever I push back. But I've never liked the relationship. It always felt like it started too fast and mom was way too defensive about the timeline. Then I found the receipt. Back in October, I was house sitting for my mom while she and Ron went on a cruise. I was bored. She still has dial-up level TV channels, and I ended up snooping through her old storage boxes out of pure pettiness. There's a folder labeled Taxes 2014, which is hilarious because anyone who knows my mom knows she labels things wrong on purpose, so people don't look inside them. I open it, and tucked between a random phone bill and a church newsletter is a hotel receipt. Room for 2, 1 king bed, wine bar charges, late checkout, everything dated 8 months before she left my dad. She had told all of us she was away at some women's retreat that weekend. I remember because she forgot to pick me up from a school rehearsal and yelled at me for not reminding her. So, yeah, it pissed me off. I decided this year's Christmas gift was going to be that receipt in a frame, not a normal frame. The ugliest, tackiest, shiniest rhinestone-encrusted mess from a discount store. The kind of thing you buy when you want someone to feel insulted and confused at the same time. I wrapped it nicely though. I'm not a monster. Christmas dinner rolls around at my grandma's house. It's always hell. My mom acts like queen of the family. Ron pretends he's everyone's father even though half the family can't stand him. My siblings turn into weak little diplomats who don't want another holiday ruined. Grandma defends my mom like she's one step away from sainthood. Dad's not invited because apparently mom's feelings matter more than basic decency. So everyone's there, pretending to like each other, pretending the turkey isn't dry, and pretending mom and Ron aren't exhausting to be around. I'm sitting there bored out of my mind, waiting for gift time like it's the season finale of a show. When she finally opens it, the whole table goes quiet. Mom freezes. Ron laughs this loud fake laugh like he's auditioning for a bad sitcom. Grandma crosses herself. One of Ron's daughters starts recording. Mom tries to say she doesn't recognize the receipt. Ron tries to say it must be fake. My siblings stare at me like I just shot Santa Claus in the head. I'm sitting there eating potatoes like I didn't just emotionally carpet bomb the entire room. Then mom starts crying, like shaking, loud crying. Ron starts yelling at me that I ruined Christmas. Grandma starts praying louder. One of my siblings asks if I'm proud of myself. And honestly, yeah, I kinda was. I had been waiting years for someone besides me to stop pretending she's this holy victim. Everyone storms out of the dining room one by one. It's dramatic and messy, and honestly the first interesting family holiday I've had since I was 12. The fallout afterwards has been a mess. Mom sent me a bunch of long texts about how I humiliated her in front of her husband and children. Ron called me vindictive and disturbed. My siblings say I went too far and should have handled it privately. Grandma keeps telling me, God saw that. I didn't respond to any of them because I didn't feel like defending myself. I didn't do it because I'm noble or because I want justice for my dad. I did it because it was funny. Because she deserved it. Because for once, I wanted her to feel the way she makes everyone else feel cornered, embarrassed, exposed. Now here's why I'm even posting. Mom and Ron are acting like I destroyed their marriage, but if your marriage can be killed by a framed piece of paper, maybe it wasn't built on solid ground in the first place? Update 1. Here's what happened after Christmas. First, Ron decided he needed space, so he packed a few bags and went to stay with one of his sons. I only know this because my sister texted me like it was breaking news. Apparently he left the day after my little holiday gift because he didn't feel respected. I don't know how a man who cheats with married women even says something like that with a straight face, but whatever. I guess the receipt ruined his appetite. My mom didn't take it well. She called me 8 times in one morning, which is hilarious because she never calls me unless she wants something. Half the voicemails were her sobbing and saying she couldn't believe I'd humiliate her like that, and the other half were her insisting I misread that paper. It wasn't even like I accused her of anything directly, I literally just wrapped the thing and let the room do the math. But apparently, that makes me a monster. She kept saying she couldn't breathe, and her entire marriage was in jeopardy. I don't know why she acted like I opened the hotel room door myself and dragged them out by their ankles. She and Ron are the ones who booked that room. I just recycled the evidence. Anyway, a few days later, my grandma decided she was gonna fix the whole thing and held one of those family meetings where everyone's tense and pretending to be mature. Everyone sat around her dining table like it was a court case. My mom had this dramatic tissue in her hand and wouldn't look at me. Ron looked like someone had forced him to come at gunpoint. My siblings were there too, but they were mostly scanning the room like TSA agents trying to avoid eye contact. Grandma opened with the usual, "We are a family" speech. I knew right then it was going to be one of those meetings where people pretend to solve problems, but actually just try to guilt one person into apologizing. Spoiler. That person was me. They all took turns telling me the same thing in different flavors. I ruined Christmas. I stirred up old wounds. I should have handled it privately. One of Ron's daughters was there too, and she kept rolling her eyes every time someone said the word respect, which honestly made it entertaining. She pulled out her phone at one point and said she needed to show everyone something. Turns out she had screenshots of my mom talking trash about my dad's side of the family for years. Stuff about how my dad abandoned us and how I inherited his coldness. Even stuff about how I was just like him. None of this surprised me, but my siblings looked like they found out Santa was a criminal. My mom tried to defend it, but it sounded pathetic. It was all the usual excuses like, "I was emotional," or "You don't understand what I was going through back then." I didn't even bother responding. I just sat there eating a biscuit like I was watching a reality show, and not actively part of it. Then out of nowhere, Ron said he needed to clear his conscience. I swear the room temperature dropped. He admitted he and my mom were emotionally entangled before the divorce, but that it wasn't a full affair. I don't know what that means. Either you were in a hotel bed together, or you weren't. Half cheating isn't a thing. My grandma gasped like she didn't already kind of know. My sister nearly choked on her water. My mom told Ron he was exaggerating. Then the two of them started arguing over the timeline like it mattered. The whole thing got loud enough that one of my cousins poked her head in to check if someone died. Then came the part nobody saw coming. After everyone was leaving, Ron's ex-wife decided to show up. It wasn't planned, she just happened to hear about the drama from her daughter and came over to drop something off. She cornered my sister outside and said she's been waiting years for something like this to happen. She said the affair wasn't the worst part. My mom actually helped Ron during his custody fight and gave a statement painting the ex-wife as unstable. Apparently she almost lost custody because of it. She said she has documents, texts, all of it. I didn't know what to do with that information, so I just sat with it for a few days. I wasn't even angry, I was more confused that my mom somehow managed to be even messier than I knew. It's like she collects lies the way some people collect magnets on their fridge. And the craziest part is she really thinks she's the victim in all of this. My siblings keep telling me I need to stop stirring the pot. They're acting like I started a war instead of just holding up a framed piece of paper like Vanna White. They keep saying this could ruin the family. Honestly, the family was already ruined. They just hid it under throw pillows and Bible verses. Ron texted me once asking if I could not mention anything else for his mental health. I didn't respond because I don't owe that man anything and I'm not babysitting his emotions. He's old enough to cheat responsibly. My mom keeps sending me long paragraphs about how I'm tearing her life apart. At this point, I just swipe and ignore. I'm not going to argue with someone who thinks silence equals forgiveness. So yeah, that's update 1. Update 2. I finally met with Ron's ex-wife. I wasn't planning on doing it this soon, but she kept messaging my sister saying she had stuff I needed to see. And honestly, at this point, everything's already gone to hell. So what's one more fire? I met her at a coffee place halfway between our neighborhoods. I thought it would be quick, like a 5-minute rundown, and maybe a printout or two. Instead, she brought an entire folder. It looked like something you'd carry to a parent-teacher meeting when you're preparing to argue with the whole school board. I want to make it clear I didn't go to this meeting thinking my mom was some criminal mastermind. I thought maybe she said mean things during their custody fight. Or maybe exaggerated something. I wasn't expecting anything wild, but this folder was worse than I thought. Not in a dramatic movie twist way, just in that slow, sinking, okay, so this has been going on forever way. The first thing she showed me were screenshots of texts between my mom and Ron from years ago. Stuff like my mom sending him pictures of the kids and telling him what to say in court. At one point, she typed out a whole paragraph about how to describe the ex-wife to make the judge doubt her ability to parent consistently. It didn't sound like those crime documentaries where someone threatens people. It sounded like messy, everyday manipulation, the kind people talk themselves into because they think they're helping someone get a fresh start. Except the fresh start involved trying to separate kids from their actual mother. Then there were emails. Not angry ones, not emotional breakdown ones, just calm, steady messages from my mom to Ron about how she already handled things. One email literally said she submitted something anonymously about the ex-wife supposedly having episodes. There was no proof any of it was true. It was the tone that annoyed me more than the content. She sounded casual, like she was talking about returning clothes to the store. The next thing was a screenshot that made me stop for a second. It was my mom bragging to someone, I couldn't see the whole message because it was a picture of her old phone, about how she was making sure he wins. I don't know if she meant custody or the divorce or something else, but it felt gross seeing her so proud of herself, especially knowing she's the same person who tells everyone she never picks sides, and just supported what was best for the kids. After that, Ron's ex-wife showed me a copy of something she said she submitted years ago when she filed a complaint. It wasn't some dramatic restraining order or anything. It was just a little statement saying my mom had shown up at her job multiple times to check on things. She didn't write it in some panicked, dramatic tone either. It was more like she was tired and didn't know what else to do. She even wrote that she didn't want my mom arrested or punished, she just wanted her to stop showing up like she was monitoring her life. She told me my mom would call her from blocked numbers. Nothing threatening, just weird check-ins like she was trying to catch her doing something wrong. I don't know if she did it out of jealousy, loyalty to Ron, boredom, or all three. It's hard to know with her. I left that meeting feeling weirdly numb. I thought I'd be furious. I thought I'd be ready to go tear into my mom again. But instead, it felt like realizing someone you've known your whole life has been living in their own little world and dragging everyone along with them. Not in a fun, delusional way, just in a slow, exhausting way where they lie because it's easier, meddle because it makes them feel needed, and then cry when anything blows up. When I got home, my siblings were already blowing up my phone. Apparently Ron told them I met with his ex-wife, and now they're calling it digging for dirt. They kept saying I was going to make things worse. Which is funny because the only reason anything is happening is because my mom and Ron couldn't keep their hands to themselves a decade ago. But sure, let's blame the person holding the paper. My sister kept sending long messages about how I enjoy drama. Maybe I do, I won't lie. But I'm not the one who lied in court papers or stalked anyone's workplace. My brother said I'm obsessed with tearing the family apart, which is hilarious because I literally spent the last 15 years trying not to argue with anyone in this house. The only difference now is I'm not pretending anymore. I haven't told my mom what the ex-wife showed me. I didn't want her to twist it into me, believing strangers over my own mother. I already know exactly what she'd say. She'd claim the ex-wife is jealous. She'd say the documents are fake. She'd bring up something from 10 years ago where she helped me and try to guilt trip me with it. She always does that when she's cornered. She starts bringing up old favors like we're keeping score. But something about seeing all that stuff on paper hit different. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't some smoking gun. It was just years of petty choices piled up like junk in a garage. Nothing major on its own, but together it paints a picture of someone who never learned how to leave things alone. Someone who sticks their nose in other people's lives because she thinks she knows better. Someone who lies so easily, she barely notices anymore. Later that night, I ended up sending the ex-wife a quick message thanking her for meeting with me. Not because I'm taking her side or anything dramatic like that, just because she looked like someone who's been carrying a heavy box for too long and finally set it down. Ron texted me too, asking if I was okay. I ignored it. I don't need sympathy from the man who started all of this. He's only sorry now because it's messy and embarrassing. I've been thinking a lot about how my mom always said she protected us. She still says it. She said it last week like it was her catchphrase. But seeing those papers made me wonder who she was actually protecting, because it never felt like it was us. It felt like she was protecting her own version of events, the one where she's the hero, the victim, and the mastermind all at once. The version where every bad thing that happened is someone else's fault. So that's update 2. Nothing exploded this time. Nobody screamed, nobody fainted. Just a lot of things finally making sense in the worst way. I don't know where this goes next. I'm trying not to think too far ahead, but I can feel that something's coming. Not a twist, just more fallout. Because the more I learn, the more it's clear this wasn't one mistake at a hotel years ago. It's a pattern, and apparently, I'm only halfway through it. Update 3. I'll just get straight into it because I don't have the energy to sugarcoat anything. After talking to Ron's ex-wife and getting all that stuff about the fake tips and the weird stalking stuff, I decided I wasn't keeping anything to myself. Not because I'm trying to save anybody, but because I was tired of everyone acting like I'm making drama out of thin air. If I'm going to be the family villain, then fine, I'll lean into it. But I'm not letting them pretend I don't have receipts. So I told them everything. I mean everything. I told my siblings, my grandma, even Ron's grown kids, because at this point I was so done with the secret keeping. And the reaction was exactly what you'd think. Denial, finger pointing, yelling. They acted like I'd hacked into the Pentagon instead of literally just holding up the shit their parents actually did. My siblings instantly turned on me, which wasn't surprising, but still annoying. My middle sibling kept saying I was obsessed and digging for attention, and the youngest practically started crying about how I was destroying the family. Meanwhile, I've been watching this family rot since I was a teenager, so if anything, I'm just the first one to turn the lights on. Right when everyone was yelling, my grandma made this dramatic gasp and actually fainted in the doorway. No joke. She hit the wall on the way down. Ron jumped up like he was trying to catch a football but missed. It sounds awful, but the whole thing was so over the top, I honestly thought she was faking it at first. Turns out she wasn't, but she was fine like 10 minutes later. She kept saying, "This family has been cursed since the divorce," which is funny because she still pretends my parents had a mutual separation. Then my mom completely snapped. I knew she'd be defensive, but she went straight to full meltdown, like I had personally burned the house down. She kept saying I humiliate her for sport, that I twist everything, and that Ron's ex-wife is mentally unstable and jealous. She also kept insisting the receipt was misunderstood, which is crazy because it was literally a hotel booking. There's only so many ways to misunderstand two adults checking into a hotel the night you told your kids you were at a religious retreat. And then she said the thing that made the entire room go silent. She screamed that I'm obsessed with her, and that I've always been unhinged, and that she had no choice but to protect herself. Protect herself from what? I've never even raised my voice at her until the Christmas disaster. That's when Ron finally opened his mouth, and what he said honestly took the anger out of me for a second, because it was so weird and sad at the same time. He basically admitted my mom lied to him for years, but not little lies, like actual character assassination lies. He said my mom told him I was violent, like genuinely violent. She told him I'd broken things in the house, that I'd attacked a sibling once, that I'd threatened her. She even told him I made someone fear for their safety, which makes zero sense because I don't even like arguing with people, let alone assaulting anyone. Apparently that's why Ron always acted uncomfortable around me, which explains so many things, but also made me feel sick, not gonna lie. To think he's been treating me like a loose grenade all these years because of stories my mom made up to cover her ass. My siblings were just staring at me like they didn't know what to do with that information. My middle sibling actually looked relieved that I wasn't a secret psychopath. The youngest refused to believe it and kept saying Ron was confused and twisting mom's words. It got so annoying I actually left the room for a minute because I felt myself getting angry enough to say something I couldn't take back. Then, as if the day wasn't already insane, my dad showed up at my place with a box under his arm. I hadn't even told him about this update yet. He said he found some old stuff while packing for a move and thought I should see it because of everything going on. Inside the box were random papers from like 20 years ago, stuff like old school forms and random bills. But then there was this letter. It wasn't in an envelope, just folded. The handwriting was my mom's. You could tell instantly because she dots her I's like she's writing in a teen magazine from the early 2000s. The letter wasn't even addressed to my dad. It was addressed to a woman I didn't know. Apparently she used to work with my dad back when things with my mom were really bad. And the letter basically said, "If you don't leave me alone, I swear I will ruin your job. I can make people believe anything." I don't even know how to describe how I felt reading that. Just this weird hollow feeling, like, oh, this wasn't recent behavior. She's always been like this, just better at hiding it. My dad didn't even say anything after. He just handed it to me and waited. I don't think he ever wanted me to know any of this. He's always been quiet about the divorce, almost too quiet. But now it actually makes sense. So yeah, Everything is on fire again, and I know some people will say, I'm stirring the pot. And fine, maybe I am. But at this point, the pot's been boiling over for years, and I'm just the only one willing to pick up the lid. I'm not done sorting through everything yet, but I'll update again when I figure out what to do next. Right now, I just feel like I'm finally seeing my mom clearly, and honestly, it's a lot to process. Final update. So, quick rundown of what's happened since the last update, because it's been non-stop chaos, and I'm honestly tapped out. Ron ended up officially separating from my mom, not because of the cheating stuff, which honestly shocked me. I thought that would be the thing that pushed him over the edge, but apparently he already cheated in past relationships, so he didn't even pretend to be outraged about that part. What actually broke him was realizing he couldn't trust a single word coming out of her mouth. He kept saying he felt stupid for believing her stories about me and about my dad, and basically about everyone she ever talked shit about. He said he couldn't live in a house where every conversation felt like he had to decode it. He packed his stuff and left pretty quietly. No big fight, no dramatic scene, just gone. My mom flipped out immediately, full meltdown mode. She's telling anyone who will listen that I ruined her life and destroyed her marriage. She's making up new stuff every time she talks. First she said Ron was abusive, then she switched to saying Ron's ex-wife manipulated me. Then she said my dad forged that letter I found. It's honestly wild how fast she can change the story depending on who she talks to. She even showed up at 2 of my aunts' houses crying on their couches like she was the victim of some scandal she had nothing to do with. My siblings aren't any better. The youngest basically went no contact with me and told our cousins that I enjoy watching everything burn. They're acting like I walked into Christmas dinner with a bomb strapped to my chest instead of just showing a piece of paper they created the situation for in the first place. The middle sibling is sort of on my side but also acts annoyed with me all the time, like all this fallout is an inconvenience I personally scheduled just to ruin their month. Grandma sent me a whole letter about honor and family shame and how families handle things privately, and I shouldn't have aired our darkness at the table. It honestly made me laugh because that's always been her thing. Pretend everything is fine even when it's rotting underneath. She actually wrote that I failed the family, like the cracks weren't already there long before I picked up that stupid receipt. Dad weirdly ended up being the only person who wasn't acting unhinged. He came over and admitted a lot of stuff he spent years avoiding. He said Mom lied about him constantly when they were together. She made scenes at his job. She threatened people. She pushed him into silence because he didn't want me dragged into her mess. Hearing that from him hit harder than anything else because he's not the dramatic type at all. He's always been quiet and kept the peace even when it cost him something. So the fact he finally said all this now, it told me everything I needed to know about how long she's been doing this. Ron's ex-wife actually messaged me too, not in some emotional bonding way. Just a simple thank you. She said she didn't even realize how much she needed someone to blow everything open. The way she said it honestly made me think she spent years being called a liar while everyone believed whatever my mom said about her. She didn't cry, didn't rant, didn't dump her trauma on me, just thanked me for making the truth impossible to bury again. My mom tried one last stunt. She sent me this long, unhinged message about how I don't understand what she protected me from, and that I ruined everything for no reason, and how she doesn't even recognize me anymore. Then she sent a picture of the empty picture frame I originally gifted her, like she expected it to mean something to me. I blocked her after that. I don't care what she thinks I should understand or what story she's spinning now. So that's where everything landed. I didn't magically fix anything. I didn't get some big satisfying moment. I didn't come out on top or win anything. Everything just sort of collapsed. And now I'm standing in the mess with a much smaller circle of people and way fewer illusions about who any of them actually are. Everyone keeps acting like I broke some perfect family that was doing great until I opened my mouth, but I didn't break anything. I just stopped pretending the cracks weren't there. That's it. That's the whole update. I don't know what happens next, and I'm honestly too tired to care right now.